Have you ever met someone who seems untouched by time, whose face glows with a quiet radiance, whose energy defies their age, and whose presence feels timeless? You wonder, is it genes, is it lifestyle, or is there something deeper, something unseen, something profoundly spiritual at work? The process of authentic individuation is a deep and often unconscious journey through which a person becomes truly themselves, not who they were told to be, not who they pretend to be, but who they are at their core. This movement toward inner wholeness has a mysterious and profound effect on the body, often manifesting as a preserved sense of vitality and youthfulness. It is not superficial or cosmetic, but a radiance that stems from psychological integration. When a person begins to accept and integrate all aspects of themselves, the joyful, the sorrowful, the capable, the broken, they free themselves from the inner conflict that consumes life energy. The energy once spent suppressing or denying parts of the self becomes available for living, for creating, for being present. This liberation of energy doesn't just heal the psyche, it subtly reshapes how the body holds itself, how the eyes shine, how the skin glows, and how the voice carries light. Individuation is not a straight path. It requires facing the unconscious, which includes our forgotten fears, our hidden desires, our unresolved wounds, and even our untapped potential. Those who dare to do this inner work begin to reclaim parts of themselves that had been exiled due to shame, trauma, or cultural pressure. Each reclamation restores a piece of the soul, and each restoration brings a person closer to psychological unity. As this inner unity deepens, a strange paradox occurs. The older the person becomes, the more alive they feel. It is as though time reverses itself in the presence of deep authenticity. The more real one becomes, the more timeless one appears. This phenomenon is not mystical in the fantastical sense, but spiritual in the truest sense. The psyche, when aligned, has a healing power over the body. It lifts the heaviness that often accompanies those who have lived for others, obeyed expectations, and buried their truth. In contrast, those who have taken the courageous path towards self-acknowledge exhibit a lightness of being that is visible in their expressions and movements. Their bodies are not weighed down by years of pretense or denial. Their presence carries the freshness of someone who has not merely added years, but has expanded in awareness. Such individuals often radiate an unspoken clarity. They are no longer at war with themselves. This inner peace alters their relationship with the world and with themselves. It softens their face, deepens their gaze, and restores their natural rhythm. Their laughter is freer, their posture more open, and though time touches their form, it does not cloud their essence. What remains visible is not a desperate clinging to youth, but the quiet beauty of a person who has become whole. In the mirror of their presence, we see a reflection of our own possibility, that aging is not decay, but deepening, and that true youthfulness belongs to the soul that has come home to itself. To appear younger than one's age often signals an inner life that has resisted the slow erosion caused by cultural conditioning. From early childhood, individuals are taught to fit into predefined roles, expectations, and identities handed down by family, society, and institutions. These external demands, though often subtle, impose a psychic weight. Over time, they suppress spontaneity, emotional expression, and the natural flow of one's inner energy. The result is often a dulling of the spirit, which reflects outwardly in the posture, voice, and even facial expressions. People who conform too tightly to social norms without questioning their origins often carry an invisible burden. Their vitality is taxed by the constant effort to maintain appearances. obey rules that contradict their inner truth, and suppress feelings that do not align with what is socially acceptable. In contrast, those who resist cultural conditioning, whether consciously or intuitively, preserve a certain wildness within. This wildness is not reckless, but alive. It allows for curiosity, emotional honesty, and the refusal to live a life of quiet resignation. Such individuals are often mislabeled as eccentric, rebellious, or naive. But beneath these labels lies a deeper truth. They have maintained contact with their authentic self. They do not allow the world to define them entirely, and this defiance protects their spirit from premature aging. Their inner life remains vibrant, dynamic, and open to change, rather than rigidly shaped by external authority. When someone is internally free, this freedom manifests physically. The face retains animation and light, the eyes remain expressive and clear, the body moves with a kind of natural rhythm, unburdened by years of emotional suppression. Unlike those who have silenced their emotions to meet social expectations, these individuals continue to feel fully. Joy, grief, anger, awe. Their emotional range remains accessible, and this emotional aliveness gives rise to a more youthful presence. It is not about avoiding responsibility or chasing pleasure, but about remaining inwardly awake. The refusal to be overconditioned often comes with an ability to question one's beliefs. People who look younger than their age are often those who refuse to adopt every inherited thought as truth. They reevaluate. They discard what no longer serves them, and in doing so they prevent stagnation. Stagnation, both mental and emotional, is one of the primary causes of energetic heaviness. When the mind becomes rigid and the heart closed, the body soon follows. But those who think freely, who challenge assumptions, who remain intellectually and emotionally curious, renew themselves from within. This inner renewal counteracts the slow corrosion brought about by societal programming. It shields the individual from becoming a fixed, predictable version of themselves. Instead, they remain adaptable, responsive, and emotionally authentic. These qualities, often mistaken for youth, are in fact the natural consequence of freedom from psychological imprisonment. The less one is owned by the world's expectations, the more one radiates with a presence that defies time, because it originates from something far deeper than age, the undistorted self. Chronological age is a measure of physical time, but the soul operates on a different plane altogether. It is not governed by clocks or calendars, but by the depth of experience, the richness of perception, and the degree of connection one holds with the eternal. The soul, in its essence, is timeless. When an individual lives in alignment with this deeper essence, they transcend the normal wear and tear that time seems to impose. They are not immune to aging, but they are not defined by it. Their appearance, energy, and presence reflect something that cannot be explained by genetics or skincare routines. It is the manifestation of a spiritual alignment that resists the dulling effect of time. Those who age quickly often do so not simply because of the years they've lived, but because of the years they've lived disconnected from themselves. The weight of unexpressed grief, the tension of living a life that does not reflect one's inner truth, and the constant pressure to fulfill roles that contradict the authentic self, all of these create a fatigue that the body cannot hide. Over time, this fatigue etches itself into the face, closes the heart, and dims the light in the eye. Time, when lived unconsciously, becomes a force of erosion. On the other hand, individuals who maintain a connection to the soul seem to inhabit a different experience of time. They are deeply rooted in the present moment, and this presence has a regenerative quality. It allows them to move through life with a kind of grace and rhythm that avoids the brittleness of forced identities. They live with meaning, and meaning is food for the soul. When the soul is nourished, the body often reflects this inner abundance. There is a softness, a warmth, and a kind of glow that is difficult to fake. People may call it charisma, youthfulness, or presence, but what they are actually seeing is the outward trace of an inward harmony. This harmony comes from living in accordance with inner values rather than outer demands. It is a life marked by reflection, by depth, and by a quiet refusal to let the superficial define the self. Such individuals are often contemplative, spiritually attuned, and emotionally aware. They carry a certain stillness that transcends their biological age. In their company, one does not feel rushed or judged, but rather invited into a slower, more meaningful rhythm. This rhythm is closer to the pace of the soul, and it has its own power of preservation. To be soul-connected is to participate in eternity while still in the body. It is to walk through the world with the awareness that one's true self is not bound by the limitations of flesh or the expectations of society. This awareness liberates the spirit, and with that liberation comes a vitality that does not fade with age, but deepens. The body, in turn, responds to this spiritual condition not with resistance, but with resonance, reflecting the timeless nature of the soul through the grace of one's outward being. Playfulness is often mistaken for immaturity, but in truth it is a profound spiritual quality rooted in openness, presence, and creative spontaneity. It reflects a psyche that has not been calcified by rigidity or wounded into numbness. The individual who remains playful in spirit is not avoiding responsibility, but approaching life with a sense of wonder that keeps the heart flexible and the mind alert. This quality, often embodied by children, does not vanish with age. It retreats when the soul is burdened by fear, guilt, or conformity. Those who appear younger than their years often carry this childlike energy, not because they are naive, but because they have maintained an inner link to the archetype of the eternal child, the part of the psyche that renews life with imagination, hope, and joy. This inner child is not a stage to be grown out of, but a part of the soul that must be honored throughout life. It holds the keys to joy, curiosity, and the ability to start anew. When it is alive within, the person experiences a kind of inner elasticity. They bounce back from hardship with humor, they meet uncertainty with creativity, and they find beauty in the small and ordinary. These traits are not only emotionally refreshing, they also manifest physically. The facial muscles stay more relaxed, the eyes stay alert, and the body retains a certain fluidity of movement. These physical signs are expressions of a psyche that has not hardened with age. Playfulness keeps the emotional life dynamic. Instead of becoming trapped in fixed roles or rigid beliefs, the playful soul experiments with identity and reinvents itself again and again. This flexibility prevents the stagnation that often accompanies aging. Where seriousness narrows the field of experience, playfulness expands it. It opens the door to new experiences, new relationships, and new meanings, and through this openness the spirit stays vibrant, engaged, and lit from within. This internal vitality inevitably influences how the body ages. It delays the spiritual dullness that so often accompanies resignation and emotional withdrawal. More than just a mood, playfulness is a form of trust. It is the soul's way of saying that life, despite its suffering, is still a gift to be engaged with fully. It requires one to be present, to take risks, to be vulnerable without self-protection. The playful individual does not carry the mask of the always serious adult. They allow themselves to be surprised, to be wrong, to be moved by beauty and absurdity alike. This humility before life keeps the heart soft and the mind open, qualities that are essential not only to spiritual growth, but to the experience of youthfulness. Where others grow old through cynicism or bitterness, the playful soul continues to dance with the mystery of existence. This dance is not a performance, but an intimate dialogue between the soul and the world. It nourishes the body, not through denial of age, but through deep acceptance of the eternal present. That is why such individuals do not simply appear young. They are animated by something beyond time, a living force that plays, creates, and loves without calculation. Emotional healing has a direct impact not only on the inner life, but also on the visible state of the body and spirit. When a person carries unresolved emotional pain, be it grief, guilt, shame, anger, or fear, those suppressed feelings do not disappear. They are stored in the psyche and body, creating tension, fatigue, and a kind of invisible weight. Over time, these emotional burdens wear down the body's vitality and dim the brightness in the eyes, the liveliness in movement, and the clarity of expression. People who have not processed their emotional wounds often appear aged, not just in years, but in spirit. Their faces reflect the weariness of suffering carried too long in silence. Their bodies may become rigid, their voices dull, and their presence clouded by the residue of unspoken sorrow. Those who undertake the painful but transformative process of emotional healing often experience a kind of inner rebirth. When emotions are fully felt and integrated, rather than avoided or denied, they release the psychic energy that was trapped within them. This release creates space for joy, peace, and authenticity to return. The act of healing does not erase the past, but reshapes the relationship to it. The pain is no longer a prison. It becomes a teacher. This shift in perception alters the tone of the inner world, and what changes internally inevitably expresses itself externally. The lines on the face soften, not because they vanish, but because the tension that carved them is no longer active. The body regains a natural ease, and the person's presence becomes more magnetic, more alive. True emotional healing involves facing the very parts of oneself that were once rejected or exiled. It means sitting with grief until it transforms into compassion, acknowledging fear until it yields to courage, and owning shame until it dissolves into dignity. This work is not easy. It demands honesty, vulnerability, and patience. But those who engage in it become lighter, freer, and more connected to the present moment. Their past no longer dominates their energy. Instead, that reclaimed energy flows back into their system, revitalizing their creativity, relationships, and sense of purpose. This process also reopens the emotional body. The heart that was once guarded becomes capable of love again. The eyes that once scanned for danger begin to see beauty. The smile that was forced or absent now arises spontaneously from a deeper place of truth. All of these are expressions of healing, and collectively they give the impression of youthfulness. Not because age has been reversed, but because life is being lived more fully. Emotional healing restores the original rhythm of the soul. When the dissonance caused by unhealed trauma fades, harmony returns. And harmony, when it is deep and sustained, resonates through every part of a person's being. It gives off a quiet radiance that no cosmetic can produce. The healed individual becomes not just lighter in spirit, but more transparent in presence. They glow with the peace of someone who has made peace with themselves. There is a subtle yet profound transformation that occurs in individuals who live in alignment with their true purpose. This alignment is not necessarily about achieving worldly success or fulfilling external goals, but about living in resonance with the inner voice that guides from within. When a person follows this inner compass, there is an organic sense of direction, meaning, and integrity that becomes embodied. They are not split between who they are and what they do. This coherence generates a quiet vitality, an authenticity that draws energy inward rather than dispersing it. That energy, when undistorted, nourishes not only the soul, but the body, the posture, the tone of the voice, and the expression of the eyes. Many people age rapidly because they live a life divorced from their deeper calling. They compromise too often, silence their instincts, and chase identities imposed by culture, family, or fear. This creates a chronic inner conflict, a dissonance between the self one presents and the self that longs to emerge. The longer this disconnection persists, the more it wears down the organism. This erosion is not just emotional, it is somatic. The face begins to carry the weight of regret. The eyes lose their light, the gestures become mechanical, reflecting a spirit out of sync with its path. When an individual walks the path that truly belongs to them, a quiet radiance emerges. Their movements have ease. Their face seems to glow with presence, and their demeanor reflects peace. This is not the glow of easeful living, but the glow of aligned living. Even in difficulty, they retain clarity. Their suffering is purposeful, not wasted. Their decisions are not driven by external approval, but inner necessity. Such living brings a sense of timelessness. One may add years in age, but not in heaviness. The body follows the spirit, and when the spirit is in tune with its own nature, the body mirrors that harmony. Living one's purpose also awakens a deep well of inner motivation. This intrinsic energy replaces the draining chase of validation and comparison. The mind becomes sharper, the emotions more balanced, and the body more responsive. There is less inner noise, less psychic friction. This conservation of inner energy reflects outwardly in the way the person carries themselves. Their aging process seems to slow, not through resistance, but through reverence for what truly matters in serving something larger than ego. Whether that be art, truth, healing, or justice, they become participants in the eternal, and this participation leaves an impression on their very appearance. The outer world may not understand the reason, but it senses something different. These individuals are not simply aging, they are evolving. Their youthfulness is not artificial. It is born of alignment, of not betraying the soul's reason for being here. And because they have chosen that path, their energy does not scatter in 1,000 directions, but flows inward, nourishing the essence that continues to radiate outward, undiminished by time. To appear younger than your age is not merely a biological anomaly or a matter of external care. It is a visible reflection of an invisible process, the deep spiritual alignment of one's inner life with the truth of the soul. It is the reward of choosing authenticity over conformity. Time may mock the body, but it cannot dull the spirit that lives in wholeness. When we stop betraying who we are, when we allow the psyche to breathe freely, when we live with purpose and joy and inner truth, we become luminous in ways that no clock can measure. We do not merely look young, we embody the timeless, because we have returned to the self that never ages.